Corbolic V2. This is a super safe and effective natural anabolic. Not only is this product going to help you increase protein synthesis, which basically means muscle recovery and growth, it also may inhibit myostatin, which is a protein in your body that is known to inhibit muscle growth. This is a complete natural anabolic that works through multiple different pathways, has multiple trademarked ingredients. If you are a natural athlete looking for that edge, Corbolic V2 is what you need. Get yourself some.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Pro Physique Code. Today we're going to cover, I think we'll go over a few topics. We'll talk about some things that are happening, but the focus on this one, based on some feedback Lexi got, was how to not let comparison kill your enjoyment of bodybuilding.
Yeah, I think this is something, whether you want to admit it or not, I think we all struggle by default with this to some degree. But there's different forms of comparison too that I think we can go into, whether it's like I see some clients struggle with comparison to like past versions of themselves. I've seen that. I think the biggest one is comparison to what they see on social media or what you see on social media, or even like comparison to where you think you should be. Like, coming up with these like ideas of where you should be. So there's lots of little things we can talk about as it relates to this topic today.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
just
and
kind of goes for everything in life. Like comparison's the thief of joy, just through life in general. And that's no different when it comes to this sport, especially when it's incredibly visible or visual, right?
Well,
Yeah.
I think the thing about the sport more than ever is that there's more available images, and those images may or may not be accurate. And maybe they're favorable lighting, maybe they're athletes that you should not be comparing yourself to. Maybe they're outright photoshopped. There's some well-known Instagrammers that are just calling people out for altering their photos, and some of these people are extremely gifted athletes that probably don't need to, but that's their prerogative. But the issue becomes when you're comparing yourself to somebody else. Yeah, it's very rarely are you going to win that battle. Versus like comparing to yourself.
It's just, and this is like the tough love kind of answer that I know not everybody wants to hear, but it's like comparison at the end of the day, it's self-induced stress too. Like it's not, you're putting that stress on your own self, but I think it's learning to navigate, especially like you said, Paul, like we live in an age where social media is super prevalent. And I mean, even in the past several years, there's been so many like technical upgrades to what you can do on Instagram or TikTok, and different cameras, different editing features. Like there's been so much of that that's come out, and a lot of people have taken that and run with that and used it in a not so great way. And it's just, we always hear social media is such a highlight reel, and I know that's cliche, but I mean, that's the truth. Cause I mean, how many times can you think of meeting somebody in person that you've just followed on social media for a while, and you kind of have this idea of like what they look like in person, and then you meet them in person and you're like, whoa, okay, well, you look a little different
Well,
in
hold
person.
on. So Evan, you're in that dating world. How many times have you met somebody online and then met them in person and been like, what's happening here?
Not so much, honestly.
All right.
Not so much. But I also
I've heard
look at
some
people
horror
for a
stories
living.
of like
I
literally a
also,
different person showing up.
well, I look at people for a living, so I can pretty much know if someone's BSing me or not with their pictures. It's
Oh
not
yeah.
that hard.
Yeah, and like when I think about it too, I feel like just with it's, I mean, I'm not saying people who are older aren't photoshopping and face tuning and all of that, but I feel like it is something you see a lot more in like the younger generation, specifically younger females, just because that's a time, I don't know, not that it's an excuse for any wrongdoing, but I feel like younger females are a little bit more insecure a lot of times and feel like they have to prove themselves a little bit more. So I feel like you see that kind of age group or that generation being the ones that are more so, face tuning, editing their photos, photoshopping, whatever you want to call it. And it's just, I don't know, it's sad.
Yeah, obviously the technology is going to change over the course of our lives. It's rapidly changing now. But I think the problem I really have with competitive bodybuilders comparing themselves to others is that they typically compare themselves to people that are not even in their space, right? So, I'll have athletes be like, coach, do you think I'm ready to compete? Or, I just don't feel ready. And they'll go win the overall at a show because they're thinking they're going to be competing against, the top 10 at the Olympia, and they're doing their second NPC show. And so,
Yes.
like, my first rule of thumb for any athlete on how to feel better or how to get out of that comparison circle is, two things. One, either go to a show. I think it's very common now to be a competitor and be like, oh, I see it online, I want to do it. You get a coach, you do a show. The first time you ever go to a show is the show you're doing. I would say that's a huge mistake.
Oh, yeah.
The best thing to do would be at least go to one show before you compete. Watch the show, take it in, look at the classes that you'll be competing in, and just look at you're going to see at the amateur level a huge variation in athletes from muscularity, shape, conditioning, skin tone, beauty, stage presence. I mean, it's very rare to have a polished athlete at an NPC show, and they stand out. That's our jobs as coaches, to put our athletes in those positions. But I think most first-time competitors think everyone that shows up at those shows is going to be there contending for the win, and it's just not the case.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've probably all dealt with this where you'll have a first time competitor, maybe not even a first time competitor, and they'll be like, oh, coach, I know, so and so, she's doing the same show as me and she's looking really good, because of what they see on social media. And, how many times have you seen that same athlete that they think looks good go to the show, maybe do well, but not win because they just don't bring the package that the judges are looking for on stage. So, and I also think, we talk a lot about bikini here, and something to keep in mind is that the coolest physique off stage or the coolest physique in pictures on Instagram is not always going to be the physique that's rewarded on stage, right? You could see an incredible, amazing physique off stage. Maybe a girl has amazing shoulders, her vascularity is crazy, whatever it may be. But you also have to remember that is not always like what the judges want to see, especially in a division like bikini. There is a standard, and it's not always who's the most shredded, who's the leanest, who's the most vascular, who has the quote unquote coolest physique. So I think a lot of people lose sight of that as well, especially if they're newer in the sport. They just don't realize the judging criteria quite yet. So sometimes they get a little panicked when they see these girls with these like insane, crazy physiques. But is that really what's going to be rewarded on stage? I don't know.
Well, the most impressive physique doesn't always win, right? It doesn't. It's what fits a standard. And I think another thing that people struggle with, especially younger competitors and females, like they really, really want to chase like that good hard glute ham tie-in, which is very, very impressive. But do you have the muscle to support that? If we get down to that leanness level, is it going to be what the standard is? A lot of times for younger competitors, it's not. It's not going to increase your placing. It's going to hurt your placing because you're going to end up looking really stringy. And that's not what they want with that. Is that look going to win a national show? No, that look is not going to win a national show. You need to be heavily muscled and conditioned for that. So knowing kind of the route that you're in and the place that you're in the journey is incredibly helpful. And then again, that goes comparing yourself against other people that have been doing this for a very long time. And you also have to think, if you haven't been doing this for a very long time and you think you should be where people are that have been doing this for a very long time, maybe you need to kind of look at yourself and what you expect, because the level of almost like hubris with that sometimes gets to me. Like they feel like they should be 5 years farther along than they are, considering they've only done it for like a year at that point.
Yeah, I think the rate at which you progress in this sport, and to be fair, this sport attracts a lot of people, but it doesn't retain a lot of people, right? There's a high turnover percentage in this sport. So I think for some people that look at this sport as, oh, I want to win right away, what I find is that the faster the climb, the faster the retire. It's just, I think, especially because we coach a lot of people in the bikini division, how many competitors are done competing before they're even 30 at this point? Like they're just done. Jen Dory's not doing the Olympia this year. She's not yet 30. She's taking a year off as the returning champion. Courtney King won a title and never came back, right? So like, and that's just examples at the top of the sport. As someone who coaches, people from novice all the way up to their pro card, I've seen many a girl get a pro card, and that was it. done. Right. So like, and that's fine. But as coaches, we see people, real coaches see people as a lifelong athlete. And that's the way I coach them. I don't coach them to get the most out of them in 6 months or a year and leave them wrecked, or having to take a year or two off before they can ever get back to that same level. To me, that's a failure. So the comparison game can be problematic for that reason. Whereas if you're comparing to yourself, it's really fun for me to see my athletes, especially like, listen, I'm happy to help people that want to be on PEDs and do those things. We get that support as well. But my natural athletes, they're almost shocked at how much progress they make year over year when they come back. You know, so that's really rewarding as a coach, because that's what you're doing. Every time you go to the gym and every time you have a great day of eating, you're just putting little bricks in that foundation of seeing progress from year to year.
Absolutely. There's that quote out there that says something along the lines of like fast success builds ego, slow success builds character. And it kind of goes back to what you just said, Paul. Generally, I'm not saying this applies to everybody, but the people who have to put a little bit more skin in the game, maybe have to take a little bit longer to get that success or get to where they want to get, they generally do enjoy the process that much more, because the outcome means a lot more to them at that point. And it's ironic because I actually had a conversation. I had a call with a client about a week ago, and she'll know who she is. She listens to this all the time, but she told me, she's like, I'm actually really kind of grateful I didn't win my first show, because she's like, I feel like I would have had an expectation after that. And she's like, this actually motivates me to work harder. And I feel like I have a fire like I've never had before. And I was like, wow, that's very mature of you to say, because she's really young, just started this. But, it's all about perspective there. And you're right, Paul, generally, those people who kind of stair step their way up over time and put a lot of skin in the game, over the long haul, they generally just have more fun in the process, and they appreciate the reward they get at the end, just because they know how much time and effort they put into something.
Yeah, it's I read a quote. It was something like, you're either 10 or 20 times more likely to be a millionaire than ever have a six pack in your life with that. Um, Anything that's difficult in life takes sacrifice and takes effort. Anything with value does. And I'm not saying people that have fast success don't sacrifice or they don't value it, but they definitely cannot value it like somebody that really, really grinded to get there. There's just no way. There's no way, because they didn't have to deal with as many setbacks. They didn't have to deal with as many hurdles. They didn't have to deal with so many disappointments that other people have to. And kind of framing it that way, I think, makes the journey more fun and makes the reward at the end just that much better.
So let's give some actual practical advice for people that are struggling with this. Like, what should you do? I'll start with something, and it's probably not the conventional thinking, and I don't know that it's right for everybody, but I have athletes who, when in prep, delete their Instagram off their phone. Now, not everybody can do that if you're running a business. One thing that I have helped, because, listen, I'm not immune to this thing as well. I compare myself to other coaches and other things. And there was a period of time where I found I wasn't enjoying the sport as much anymore. I have unfollowed anybody that, when I see them, bothers me, whether that be an account that posts pictures, videos of any kind that I just feel like, ew. And I tell you what, it makes going on Instagram much more fun. I follow my clients. I follow my friends. I don't follow celebrities, other than The Rock. It's right there. But, even his content's pretty uplifting. It's mostly just him working out and fishing. But like, yeah, so I think that's one route you can take, is don't put pressure on yourself to be posting on social media. And if that's something you feel you need to do, come up with a strategy around it where I go on and I post, and I make sure that I stay in my little bubble and move on. And so I think Instagram is probably the most likely culprit. I don't hear as many people complaining about TikToking and some of the other apps.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Paul. And I have had some clients do that too, where, if they don't, let's say, run their business through Instagram, if they just use it for personal reasons, they'll delete it. And I think that's a great idea. What I always do is, because I mean, we all three of us, we do rely on Instagram a lot for our business, but I always just mute people if there's any people in particular that I find just like their posts or whatever it may be kind of trigger me, or I don't know, if I fall down that comparison rabbit hole, I'll usually just mute them. And that's kind of the best thing that I usually do in those situations. Because I always tell my clients, I mean, social media, I think it does get a bad rap, but it can be a very positive thing. But if you're
Mhm.
getting on social media and you get off of social media and you almost feel like just very negative or drained, you're probably not following the right people, right? You have complete control over being able to filter your following, right? And who you're following. So you want to filter it accordingly to feel like motivated and uplifted and happy when you get off social media. So sometimes it takes a little bit of unfollowing certain people. Trust me, you know what? If you hurt their feelings, like that's their issue, right? You got to take care of yourself. Mute them. I know last year, I remember I was like a week out from a show and I ended up just like muting the promoter because they were reposting every athlete that was going to be in the show. And I couldn't help myself. Every time a notification would pop up, I'd like look through. So I just muted that promoter just so I wouldn't have to look at the competitors that were going to be at my show. So I think muting and just unfollowing and filtering your social media feed can be extremely beneficial.
Yeah, and I think too, it's the expectations you put on yourself. If you walk into a show and you expect, you're like, I really, really want to win this show. Look, everybody going into that show wants the same damn thing you want. Everybody does. All of them. Every person that walks in there wants to win. It doesn't matter how much work you put in or anything. That's the case of it. And worrying about who else is going to be there is kind of a fool's errand. And then I think eventually, once you've done this sport long enough, you don't really even care when people post stuff or who's going to be at a show, because 9 times out of 10, like we were talking about earlier, the people don't look like they do in their post. And once you kind of realize that, um, things get a lot easier. Overall, they do. And worrying about yourself and bringing your best package is the goal, and anything that gets in the way of that or can steal that joy from you, or that worry, because look, we have anxiety, we have worry going into a show. Almost everybody does, right? Because emotions are higher and the food is low, you're tired, so everything seems like a bigger deal than it is. And if you have stuff that you struggle with there, then eliminating that from your immediate vision can be really, really, really helpful.
Yeah. And here's another one too. So I'll be very vulnerable for a sec. So I I've never had like a Reddit account or anything like that. Never posted on it. I really honestly don't know how it works. That kind of like sounds stupid. I really don't know how it works, but I did have the app for a while and there were some like what do you call them? Reddit, not threads, but like pages that I would look at. And finally, a couple weeks ago, I just deleted the app because I was like, all right, Lexi, what purpose is this app serving you at all? Not that I mean, I think it can come down to like, it can definitely evoke a comparison because I see some people posting on like Reddit feeds of like their progress pictures and they'll just be like, hey, like, what do you guys think of where I'm at right now? And I get that maybe that comes from a good place and they just want genuine feedback. But I'll be honest, like Reddit is a place where a lot of people get on anonymously. You never know who's behind the account. So people can say whatever the hell they want, right? And then they don't have to really take accountability. So I just personally, I did not feel like it was a positive space at all. And so I just deleted it. And it's like such a good feeling to not have to worry about any of that negativity or deal with it. So I mean, that's not as big of a social platform, but I do know a lot of competitors that are on that. And I don't know. I just don't get a good taste of
It's very niche specific. And I think, because I did the same thing. I haven't been on Reddit in a long time. And it was because, even though sometimes I would have positive reviews on there, what I found was that it was mostly a place for people to go that were complaining. Then it kind of just ruins the whole benefit of the platform. I like the idea of open discussions and being able to share things. But yeah, Lexi, same as me. I just don't find the benefit. Whereas when I'm talking to my clients, when I'm at shows, when people are approaching me, it really does give me a reminder when I spend time with you guys, like, that I do love what I do and we're enjoying this journey together. This has been 11 years that I've been doing this now. So whenever I find that I'm starting to go down like a dark place, I'm like you guys, I try to eliminate it. I think that we can all benefit from that because you start to feel like it's almost like a weight is lifted when you put it down and a couple days goes by and you go, I don't actually get anything positive out of it. It's
Yeah,
so, and
that's
then you start
exactly.
putting your energy into other places, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
that's exactly how I felt after deleting it. Like I said, I've never had an account or never posted. I honestly don't know how it works, but like just after deleting it, I was like, okay. I just like took a deep breath. I'm like, wow, this actually feels really good. And that was just unnecessary like stress and negativity I was putting on my own self. And I think that's, that's what the social media comes down to too, is you have to take accountability and realize like that stress you're potentially putting on your own self. You have control over your social platforms and changes that we're talking about. You can delete apps or you can mute, who you follow or unfollow certain people. So that way you actually do get a positive out of social media because it
Yeah.
can be a really positive space if you let it.
Yeah. And I
and
think
anything,
defending yourself is a huge sign of insecurity, right? If you, for instance, Evan, I'll take you for example. If someone walks up to you and says, damn, you could be really good, but you don't have enough back. If you're insecure about your back, you're going to be like, fuck you, dude. Like, that's bullshit. I have a great back. Or if you're secure and you know what? That's actually pretty correct criticism and I can have a better back. It's a complete different mindset. When you're insecure, you go on the offensive. And I feel like that's a lot of what Reddit is. And I don't feel insecure. I know I'm great at my job. I've got a decade of experience. I've got a team of people that, I'm very proud to know. And so those things don't really impact me negatively. I know what I've accomplished and what I've done and what I'm doing. And to me, that you don't need to be on a place that encourages almost that rabbit hole of negativity.
and
Amen.
anything that you can post anonymously is going to attract a certain demographic of people. And there is value in being able to ask a question anonymously, but the vast majority of the time, that opens up for people to be cruel
Did you say
and to
anonymously?
lie
I was
anonymously.
wondering that too. I was wondering that
It's
too.
one of those words that a lot of people are like, nom
Anonymous.
nom.
Anonymously.
Anonymously.
There
There
you
we
go.
go. There
Yes.
we go.
Yes. And anything that you can do like that is going to attract a certain type of person. I mean, look, Reddit forever has been a cesspool, right? And the issue with Reddit is the fact you don't know what's truthful, what's not truthful. But I mean,
No,
that's pretty
and to
much
be
like
fair, it's
media today.
entertainment. If you can use it for entertainment, wonderful. That's great.
And
But
you know what it reminds me of? It's like the equivalent of, okay, I was so into these when I was younger, but like the gossip magazines, like People or Us Weekly or whatever. Because like you never knew if anything was true in those, but they were just so entertaining. And that's kind of what it reminds me of.
yeah, I mean, that's anything salacious is going to get some attention. And I think, especially because, our sport, coaching, bodybuilding, being involved in the sport, it's a very tiny microcosm and it can feel like a lot. And then you really literally leave your apartment and you realize nobody in the whole world gives a flying F about this sport except for us and what we do. And so it's very easy. And I'm saying, I've been guilty of it too, of losing joy through comparison and not being able to appreciate some of the things that I've done because I'm constantly comparing. And ever since I've adopted this change, it's completely changed. I'll tell you, like, the most joy I have in this sport is like answering my updates and talking to my clients and being at shows with people. Like, that's the best feeling, right? And that's something that I think a lot of people that run their mouths don't experience. Like, they don't get that joy, so they have to, I don't know, it's for me, it's a constant reminder, like, going to Texas with you guys and being around everybody, like those are the events that I go, man, like, this is pretty awesome, the things that we've done and the things that we're doing. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah. That reminds me. I feel like I'm sure you guys feel the same way, but I feel like on days where maybe I'm just like dealing with, I don't know, it could be a personal thing or like family stress or something sad. Like I love, love, love getting to my computer and doing client check-ins. Cause like not only is it a great distraction, but it's a good positive distraction. And I find that like that just really fills my cup up throughout the day. So yeah, I feel the same way that you do, Paul.
Yeah.
well, let's
And
talk a
it's
little bit about, I mean, I want to talk about avoiding triggers and maybe setting up some boundaries, because we're talking about social media, Evan, but I think a lot of us have people in our lives that are triggers. It can be a relative, it can be a friend, it can be somebody at the gym that every time you see them, they just want to talk about other people and talk about what this person's doing and that person's doing. And I've had some people in my life like that too, that, you know, I always would get, you know, because I stay out of these kind of discussions online, I would get people messaging me, hey, did you hear this? Or did you see this? And I would be like, hey, stop. I don't care. I don't care. Like, yeah, that's great. But me going down that rabbit hole is going to end badly for me. I'm going to have a bad day or two. So like, let's talk a little bit about that, Evan. Have you had some bad experiences with like, and sometimes it's hard when you realize someone in your life is toxic.
Yeah, I mean, we've all had experiences like that, right? I mean, there's people that support you and there's people that don't. And the older I get, the more I don't even listen to what people say. I just see what their actions are, and
Right.
their actions define who they are, right? Like you can have people in your life that say they care about you and love you, but do they actually show that? It's very easy to say, it's very difficult to actually show. Showing through consistency, obviously, and things like that. I mean, I've had experiences with people in the gym that were incredibly toxic people that would come up and try to talk to me and start rumors about friends and ask if I knew about this. And I would eventually it got to a point where I was like, hey, man, like this isn't the conversation I want to have with you. It's not important to me. Like these people are my friends. If you feel that way, that's fine. But I don't want to have this conversation. He kept going. And I was like, I'm not going to repeat myself again. And then eventually people like that, now guess who they talk bad about? Me and whoever doesn't want
Well,
to deal with that anymore. And the thing is, and this is what people have to understand, is people are afraid of that type of thing to happen, but everyone knows the way that person is or the way those people are. They aren't pulling the wool over anyone's eyes with that.
well, they might
And
initially, because a lot of times they will be charismatic in person and you meet them and you're like, oh, but one thing that I've learned is if somebody's talking bad about other people to you, as soon as that conversation turns around, you're the topic, right? And Lexi, you tend to stay out of it. You tend to stay to
we had
yourself a lot, right?
I absolutely despise drama. I've always been this way. Like I was on the cheer team in high school and we had like all the drama, but I was always that like weird kind of loner. I hated the drama because it engulfs me. I'm such an empath. Like I don't know. I get if I'm in the middle of drama, it will like literally
Was it a cheerocracy or a
pretty much. I mean,
cheertatorship?
it was well, it was like think of it this way. So, and I actually this is why I didn't cheer my senior year because it was just like I loved cheer, but I hated the group of people. It was like think of like stereotypical mean girls. Like there was a ton of mean girls, and then it was just me, and then like maybe there was one other girl that like I got along. Well, I got along with all of them, but I just didn't like the drama or the mean girl kind of nature. So yeah, I from an early age have hated drama. I stay out of it. And that's why, I always jokingly say a lot of my best friends, all the ones I can think of off the top of my head, they're all like early 30s. And I think that's mainly because by that time, usually most people are like out of the whole drama realm. And so I just vibe better with those people. Cause yeah, I hate the drama.
yeah, I mean, Paul, we've
Very
had
good.
conversations before about people in my past that have said things about me that aren't true. And my initial reaction is to defend myself. But you told me, and it made a lot of sense, and it proved to be true, is truth always comes out. The truth always comes out in the wash. Don't worry about it. Don't comment about it. Just shut up and let the chips fall where they may. And it always ends up working itself out like that.
Yeah.
And my dad had a quote that always makes a lot of sense to me. It's like, the more you stir shit, the more it stinks. And that's the way I kind of look at all of that. Like most of the stuff that you hear and that gets in your head, and that's a thief of joy. If you just kind of let it sit and die, it will die out.
Mhm.
You know, Lane Norton is somebody I've been pretty close with for going on, I think, 15 years now. And early on when I knew Lane, he loved the drama, and he still, to a degree, likes to get engaged and discuss things. I think he's doing a better job of focusing on like things that matter a little bit more. But I always struggled with Lane because I could not understand why he would constantly engage with them. It's a personality thing for him. But it taught me a lot, because what I learned was when you engage with someone that's, a bottom feeder, a pig, a piece of shit, terrible human being, which, we all have them in our lives that are trying to engage with us or talk bad about us. But when you engage with them, all you do from a distance is now both people see you in that light, right? So there's really no benefit
Mhm.
if you're defending yourself, you're insecure. And if you're insecure, there's probably some truth to what's going on. However, if you're confident in who you are, the people below you don't matter. They just don't matter. You just don't feel the need,
Yeah.
to discuss it.
Well, it's always, there's that saying, hurt people hurt people. And it's
Absolutely.
so true because I mean, think of the people out there that I know successful is like a very loose term, but like think of the most successful people you know in life, the happiest people you know in life. They are generally not the people that go out of their way to hurt others, right?
Mhm.
Most of the time, when people try to go out of their way to hurt you for no reason at all, they're dealing with something themselves, right? They're deflecting that onto you. It's a deflection of what they're going on in their own life. And of course, that's not an excuse to, treat you a certain way, but that's kind of how you have to frame it. And that's how I always frame things. Like I've had even a couple of like distant family members that have been like done some extremely awful things to me the past couple of years. And it's just been weird because it's like I didn't ever do anything to them, but the way I had to interpret it was like, okay, they are very insecure with whatever they're going on with or whatever is going on in their life. It has nothing to do with me. And once I kind of realized that, I was at a lot more peace. Like, yeah, it sucks that they are that way, but it's also like I feel bad for them and I wish them well and hope that they can find the peace that they need to get because, if that's exactly why they're treating me the way they are.
Yeah. And I think it's something to always think about too. And maybe I'm a little callous with this, but everyone says like, I wish these people well. You don't have to wish everyone well either. You really don't. Like there's certain things that happen in life where they don't necessarily deserve you to wish them well. You don't wish bad about them, but you don't have to wish them well either, or to find happiness, or to do anything. They really just don't matter
I
anymore.
think that's what I was going to say, Evan. I think when you find a situation like that, when you are emotional about it, you're still not over it. It's when
Mhm.
you almost are apathetic about it that you go, oh yeah, I actually don't care anymore. Like that's how you know something's not negatively impacting you. Um, let's give a couple more tools for how to not with the comparison situation. I want to give a couple more tools on things because I think this is something that I've noticed. So when I first started competing in bodybuilding, my first prep, Evan, you're gonna love this because you're gonna remember your first prep. Maybe you too, Lexi. The beginning of prep, you're like, yeah, my shoulders are huge. I've got great whatever quadricep separation, this and that. By the end of prep, all you notice are the negatives.
Mhm.
Like at the end of prep, all I'm looking at is my lower back. I'm looking at, and I'm like, I've realized this later. And so I've actually, like last year, I enjoyed prep much more because I was actually looking at prep from the perspective of like, look how amazing my body is responding. I'm 47 years old and I'm freaking shredded. And so I think learning to focus on your strengths and not just harp on your weaknesses, because that's like every bikini competitor, Lexi, at the end of prep, all they're looking at every week is that tie-in,
You nailed
right?
it.
But you
Yep.
you could have the best front pose in the history of the world, but if you don't have that tie-in, you're almost like, oh no. So who was at Battle of the Bodies with me? Was anyone there? You guys didn't go. So
Mhm.
I had both girls in the overall in the middle were my girls. And the one Alexandria front pose is phenomenal, right? Like literally looks like an Olympian from the front. From the back, she wasn't quite lean enough. Like we needed to be leaner. We were starting our season. We thought she was lean enough to be competitive. My other client, Dragana, had, I'm talking about etched in tie-ins, 3D glutes. From the back, she was killing it, but from the front, she doesn't have as good a shape and pop as Alexandria. Alexandria won the overall. But I think, if you just go by tie-ins, she might have avoided it, but she trusted me and we did the show and it worked out great. But like, so I think when you only focus on your weaknesses and not your overall look, I think that's a part of this sport. It is a bodybuilding show. It's not one pose or one look.
That's so true. I mean, you nailed it, Paul. I mean, at least for me last prep, literally all I fixated on was the tie-ins. And then it's like the more you fixate on something, the more you get those, like I like to call them foggy goggles, like you don't see yourself clearly. And I have this rule for myself, and I've actually shared this with a lot of competitors recently that I coach. And it's that, like I always typically say at the end of prep, we're all notorious for wanting to like take our progress pictures and then we look at them and it's like, oh, okay, no, I could do this better. I don't like the way this looks. Let me try again. We do it again. And then we look at those pictures and it's like, oh, there's something I want to change. I don't like this. And you just fall down that rabbit hole. So you end up like, maybe spending 30 minutes taking your pictures. So I always tell myself in prep art, you got 3 shots. Like after 3 tries of taking the pictures, if you don't like what you see, like, you need to recognize you don't see yourself with clear vision, just send them anyways. And I tell my competitors that too, because it's so true. I mean, how many times have you guys looked back at old pictures in prep and you're like, oh my God, I looked phenomenal. And then but you think back to what you thought at those pictures in the moment, and you remember in the moment you didn't really like the pictures, right? Like
You're
that.
only looking at the one spot. I
Yeah,
say it all the time. Every prep ends and I'm like, why didn't I take more damn pictures and videos? I'm like, because
yes.
you're always like, oh wait, I'll wait till tomorrow. I'll wait till tomorrow. And you never take pictures and videos.
Yes. Or you'll like take a picture and in the moment you'll be like, oh, I look amazing. And then you'll kind of analyze that picture even more. And you're like, no, I'm not going to post it. And then you look back at it months later and you're like,
Yep.
oh my goodness, I should have been really damn proud of myself. So, but I think just the awareness around the fact that, especially if you're deep into prep, you have to have that awareness that you are not going to see yourself with clear vision, right? And any competitor who has gone through a prep can, probably knows this. You look back at your prep pictures and you think, oh my God, I looked amazing, but you didn't think that in the moment, right? So I think
Right.
that awareness is key. But I know like the strategy that I use of like, okay, 3 times of taking pictures, and after that, you just got to send them in, like no hyper fixating on continuing to take pictures. And I also think too, something else that can help is taking your progress pictures and like putting in all of your check-in information, like your notes, and taking your weight last. Because I generally find that a lot of people's tone changes in their check-in when they like weigh in first. If they see a weigh-in that they are like not liking or that they're not expecting, it kind of changes the tone in their check-in. So I always
That's a
recommend.
clever idea. I had never thought of that. That's a good idea.
Yeah. I always say like take your progress pictures first and like look at them before you take your weight, because a lot of times we step on the scale and then it's like, okay, if it's a number we don't want to see, we automatically assume, ugh, I'm not going to like the way I look. And then we take our pictures and then we pick out all of our flaws. And then that tone kind of bleeds into the rest of what you're putting in your check-in. So that's another, idea is just take the weight absolutely last after you take your pictures, you put in all your, notes for your check-in, take the weight last. So that way it doesn't bleed into your tone.
It's funny you bring that up because I was talking to a few of my clients the other day on check-ins of something I've really noticed over the years. And if the weight's not moving, that is the first thing that is brought up. It's like, I'm really frustrated. My weight's not moving. It's not changing, even though we're pushing. And I try to explain the reasons behind it. And then say a week or two goes by and they drop like 4 or 5 pounds. And then that check-in, they don't say a damn word about that weight or how they hit new lows or anything like that. Then the focus completely switches. And when you start thinking about it like that, they're only focusing on the negatives. And when the positives come, they ignore those positives. Right. And that's kind of a way a lot of people's brains is up working in prep with it because you're chasing your best, right? You're chasing your best. And I think a lot of it comes down to most people don't feel like they're going to be good enough with it. And they're afraid to celebrate those victories, especially earlier on. That's not everyone, but it's a fair amount of clients I have that do that. And that's on the lifestyle side too, not even the competitive side of things. I mean, every once in a while, I get somebody like, yay, cool, awesome. I hit a new low. I'm super excited. And most of the time, I have to be the one to call it out. Be like, you understand you hit a new low here by like 3 pounds and you didn't mention it at all.
Right. Right. Well, and this is a good like way to kind of segue into another form of comparison I see a lot is especially with, well, this could pertain to prep clients and lifestyle clients, but like those clients we worked with for a while now and we've gone through multiple like reverse diets and preps. I find that another struggle for some people can be comparing, like, let's say they're doing their second prep, right? But comparing that prep to how their first prep went, or comparing their first reverse to how their second reverse is going, and sometimes comparing your own self to like how past versions of yourself responded in certain phases. I think that can be detrimental too. And I know that's happened to me in prep before where it's like, you kind of sit there and you're like, okay, well, my body responded to these macros last time I prepped. Like, what's wrong with me now? Why am I not responding now? So I think that can be something that's really tough for clients as well, whether, it's a prep client or just a lifestyle client. Do you
Mhm.
guys see that as well?
Go
Yeah.
ahead,
I
Evan.
mean, no, yeah. I mean, it's just something that people run into. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same. I
Or
mean,
like I feel like I feel like it's a little bit more prevalent with prep clients, just kind of comparing like, oh my God, I didn't have to get this low with food before. Like, what's wrong with me? Why am I having to dig this deep now? Or, hey, I remember my last prep, I was seeing these lines at like X weeks out, I'm not seeing them yet. Or a big one can be weight, right? And especially if, you know, even if it's a natural client, but especially those who have, you know, wanted to go down the enhanced route, their weight's going to be usually a lot higher when they get on stage the next time,
One of
right?
the biggest things I've struggled with is, you know, athletes that I get going the enhanced route, is that we have to get used to the scale sometimes not moving. Like,
Yeah.
you can look completely different. You know, anabolics work. Anavar, listen, it works. Like it works. And so I've actually seen clients not drop weight for 4 to 6 weeks, but every single week, more detail, more shape, right? So you're recomping. So yeah, I mean, you have to calibrate according to, that's why the pictures are so important, because no judge asks you your weight and says, oh, you should have been 2 pounds lighter. They don't know. They're just looking at what's up on stage. And I love telling the stories about my clients that were, you know, Stephanie Ortiz this year got, you know, second call outs at junior nationals at 105, 106 pounds. They said, yeah, you probably need a little more muscle before you can turn pro. She turned pro at the next show by dropping 3 pounds. And they were like, yeah, you put on some muscle. Nope.
Nope.
Got leaner and really pushed the carbs. I mean, I think I had her, you know, she's 104 pounds. I think I had her 300 carbs a day before the show. She was busting at the seams because I knew she had to look that way. And that's, the judges aren't coaches. That's our job, is to navigate that ship. And so the feedback you get, I hear all the time, oh, they wanted me fuller. And I'm like, okay, but to a judge, they just know they want you fuller in an area. They just want more fullness. That means you might need more muscle, or you might just need to peak differently. You might, if you cut water and took a diuretic and did all this asinine things and really like depleted down versus how you look with food and in the gym, that's the coach's job. The judges don't know what that means.
Yeah,
For
I
the
feel
most
like
part.
I've
Some
heard
do.
Cindy say it before, where she'll be like, "I'm, you know, I'm not a coach, not a trainer, but like, here's what I want to see. I don't like."
Andy says that all the time.
Yeah,
She says, like, she's great. Yep.
yeah, she is. But it's like, you're so right. I mean, the judges, and that's why I always tell my girls, please record your feedback if you get it, because sometimes like it does take a little bit of a coach, like it takes a coaching perspective to really be able to kind of decipher what the feedback truly means and like what the coach needs to do to get you as an athlete to where the judges want to see you, because they're just going to explain what they saw on stage. And like sometimes also it's in very much so layman's terms. They may say, oh, you know, you were too skinny or whatnot. Like I've heard that one before, and that's not usually a term us coaches use, but sometimes it's our job to sit there and kind of decipher that in, you know, and go to work kind of to get that what the judges want to see.
This is why judges' feedback is so tricky. It's because some judges have been competitors. Some judges were pros. Some people were good pros. Some people were amateur competitors. Some people were coaches. Some people understand stuff better than others, and they'll be able to look at it. Like David's a really good one. He can look at a lot of the people on stage and give you really good solid feedback, like, hey, you're a little thin here, we need to add some muscle. He's pretty good with that, but he was also a competitor. When you have someone that wasn't a competitor, they're just going to be speaking to more kind of in generalities, and it's for us to be able to dissect that. So that's why it's important to know how to decipher the judges' feedback. And that's why we go to some of these shows. That's why we know the judges, why we talk to the judges, so we can kind of learn their personalities and know their feedback they give and be able to interpret it, because every judge's feedback is different. It's different. And it always doesn't line up either with what the other judges say. So it's kind of one of those things you want to get more than just one judge's feedback, and you want to be able to have your coach decipher that between all of the judges' feedback. Because I had one girl win her class, win 3 classes. She didn't win the overall, and 2 of the judges said, hey, you look perfect. Like, you should just come in like this. And I'm like, well, you didn't look perfect because you didn't win the overall. Right. And I knew she needed to be leaner. And the other 2 judges' feedback was, hey, you look great. You just need to be a little bit leaner, but you're kind of running the risk of being a little narrow up top, which is exactly what I figured was going to be the case with it. So that's why it's important to get multiple judges' feedback, not just one.
Well, and you can look amazing and not win. Like, there are some exceptional athletes out there. You know, last year I had a girl that I was certain was going to win the overall at the Clash and go get her pro card at the Amateur Olympia, easy peas, right? So Natalia shows up at the Clash. She walked out, and one of my friends who's a coach looked over at me and he goes, that's your girl? she's the overall champion. I said, not so fast. There was a girl backstage from, I think from the Dominican Republic named Sharon Ramos.
Mm.
Sharon actually ended up, they put Natalia and her in the middle of the overall. Sharon wins the overall. A couple days later, she goes to Amateur Olympia, wins that overall. A couple days later, she comes in fourth at her pro debut, the show that I coached Ariana, where she won the Atlantic Coast. That girl Sharon got fourth. So those people exist. And Natalia and I, she was like, you know what? I said, you're probably still going to turn pro because you're class B or C. And that girl was like class F or G. But you know what she said? You know what? I'd rather just wait till I'm dominant. I said, good for you. Guess what? She's 8 weeks out. She won't be losing again. Right. So like
we were talking about, and I've been seeing some of her stories, and she does look really damn good.
She's natural. And so for her, doing 1 or 2 shows a year is important, that she's spending those 6 or 7 months growing and not just constantly chasing the pro card, because right now there's a lot of people getting pro cards that a couple of years ago wouldn't have. Right. So, but if you chase the look, you're going to get it. You're going to get there. And so that's, Natalia is just an amazing human. This is our 3rd year together, and she's never taken second. She's won first in every class she's ever done. She just hasn't won the overall yet. So, well, she's won the true novice and novice overall. She hasn't won the open overall, but I'm just saying, like, Evan, your girl, sometimes the judges might say, you look perfect. You nailed it. You're just not good enough. There's going to be a lot of people at the Olympia that don't get to go to finals that look amazing. There's going to be about 40, 42 or 43 of them that go to prejudging on Saturday morning. Their season's over. They're not qualified for the next Olympia. And it'd be very easy for a lot of them to get down on themselves. Right. But being that top 10 at the Olympia is the most upper echelon that you can be in this sport. And it's just not possible for everybody. And so I think, when it comes to comparison, my journey in the sport, coming to the realization that, okay, I know where I fit, was so much more fun. I really enjoyed last year competing and knowing, like, listen, I'm going to out condition most people. I'm going to out, prepare for most people, but I'm not going to beat everybody. I'm just not some genetic anomaly when I walk on a bodybuilding stage. I'm also natural competing in an enhanced show. Okay. But I still won my age class and got first call outs. And I think I get 4th in the open in men's physique. I had a blast because I was there to enjoy the day with my friends and get on stage. And I think in years past, that wouldn't have been the case. I did a show in the past where I kept the medal in my bag where I think I got 3rd at a show. I kept that medal in my gym bag for years as a reminder of, like, you suck and you need to train harder. So
yeah, what I was getting at with that too wasn't the fact she didn't look good. And again, we're talking about comparisons, right? I still knew she could be better than she was. And that was more
in her current physique, like,
yes, she could have been improved.
Yeah.
She could have been improved. And that's why I was talking about the judges' feedback.
That's the job for the coach, because, I've told athletes before, like, you won, you weren't even your best, or you didn't win, but we can still be better. Right. And so if I have an athlete that looks as the best I can get them, they're lean, they're full, they're tight, blah, blah, and they're still not getting close to their goal, it's time to shut it down.
I mean, that's a perfect example. I mean, when I was still amateur, I had not been outside of the top 5 in any national show in like 3 years. And my best look before I turned pro was at nationals the year before, when I ended up getting 5th place at that show. And that was my best overall look ever at that point. With that, I was way better than I had been at any of these other shows and had placed better. Right. Yeah. So it's about being the best version of you. As corny, as lame as that sounds, it's the truth. And there's the reason people say that, especially in bodybuilding. It's about being the best version of you, because you do not have the same bone structure as somebody else. You have different parents, you have different strengths, you have different muscle insertions, you have things you cannot change. It doesn't matter how hard you work on them, you can improve them, but they will never be what someone else is. And that's okay, because you have strength other people don't have either. But if you've got all of it, that's how you get people that just win Olympias, right? But those are, again, the extreme few and far between. Don't compare yourself against the 0.0000001% of people on this planet. If you do that, you're always going to be miserable. Always.
Yeah.
Right. If you do, find yourself falling into that comparison trap, it is going to 100% make the journey just like you said, Evan, feel more miserable. You're just never going to feel like you're enough. You're always going to feel down on yourself. You're always going to feel negative. And like, what's the point of that, right? But the people who compare themselves the most are generally usually the people who are least happy in the sport, the people that just kind of realize this is their own journey. Like, you're writing your own book. There is no specific timeline that you have to abide by. Like, you're doing this to be your best. Those people generally just enjoy the sport more. They're happier. They stay around in the sport for longer, and it's all better in that scenario.
Absolutely.
Listen, I think especially we're in a sport to compete and win. It is, I do think it is important to understand what you're chasing and what you're working towards, right? You can't just go in the gym and do whatever you want and expect to win. But understand that part of the sport, the part where we're in the gym for, 60 to 90 minutes, a couple days a week, killing it, that's when you turn on that competitive spirit. When you step out of the gym, don't compare. Don't compare, right? So, that's the hard part. And I'll say, I've said it many times, it shows there is an air to a competitor that's about to dominate. Like, they're more relaxed. They know they're good, and they are less concerned about the result than just showing off their hard work. And I've seen more competitors win that way than the competitor that has texted me 16 times before 9 a.m. because they want to know when they should do this and when they should do that. And is it okay to do this? And you're like, ooh, the stress is high. And not that sometimes things aren't important, but that athlete that is confident and is calm and relaxed is more often than not going to have a much better result.
Yeah, I had a girl she's won her class. She won the overall one show and then won her class, just missed the overall at the last show. And it was funny because she checked in with me in the morning and we had a general game plan to lay out food for the day. I was like, hey, check in a few hours. And she just didn't. She's like, oh, hey, sorry, I ended up in the middle on everything here. Should I eat something? I'm like, okay, well, in the future, yes, let's make sure we continue checking in here with it. But she was so relaxed, it didn't even matter at that point with it. And it's funny you said that, Paul, because that is absolutely the case with it. The more relaxed you are, the better it's going to be. But listen, that's a tough thing to do. Like, hey, relax. That's like telling somebody just be taller, right? Or like, don't stress. It's not. It's easier said than done. And there's different personality types that typically will stress on certain things more than others. But I think I put my story today about that. Like, it's not the way you are, it's just the pattern of the way that you think, and it's habits that you create. And so you can create new habits if you're conscious about it. It doesn't mean it's easy. We've all learned the way we do things. We have. Nothing
Yeah.
is inherently natural.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. I like
Is
this
that it?
conversation. Yeah, I like this episode. Well, I do, if we're gonna like kind of end things, I knew that there was this quote I had read before and I was like, let me look it up because I want to pull it up. It's kind of a longer one, but I want to just like share it really quickly. So it's on the topic of, I guess, if you're somebody that struggles with comparison when we're talking like timelines, right? So if you're a competitor listening to this and you feel like, oh, you need to win your first show, win your pro card in the first year, like this may be for you. So the quote says, New York is 3 hours ahead of California, but that doesn't make California slow. Someone graduated at the age of 22, but waited 5 years before securing a good job. Someone became a CEO at 25 and died at 50, while another became a CEO at 50 and lived to 90 years. Everyone in this world works based on their time. People around you may seem to be ahead of you and some might seem to be behind you, but everyone is running their own race in their own time zone. Do not envy them and do not mock them. They are in their time zone. You are in yours. Life is about waiting for the right moment to act. So relax. You're not late. You're not early. You are very much on time.
Someone asked me the other day, I want to remember who it was. Golly, it's somebody very important to me, and I'm just trying to remember. They said, I think they're 32, and I'll tell you why I know that. And they said, gosh, I feel like I haven't accomplished anything and I'm 32. And I said, well, I'll give you some perspective. When I was 32, I had 2 roommates. I had a IT job I was making 70 grand a year. And this was 20 years ago. It was a good salary for a single guy. But I had 2 roommates. I probably had less than $5,000 in the bank, had a car payment. And you know, at 32, I hadn't even done a bodybuilding show yet. So like the fact that within a year or two, I would do my first bodybuilding show. I hired Lane, did my first bodybuilding show, went to my first Arnold, started doing some YouTube stuff. A couple of years later, you know, got a pro card, got my, you know, started my pro physique business. I mean, it's crazy that at 32, I had done really nothing. You know, I had a bachelor's degree and I had a decent job, but it wasn't like you know, I didn't have my first child till I was 38. You know, didn't get married till I was 37. Didn't buy my first home till I was 33. I now have 5 homes. You know, I've made multiple millions of dollars and get to spend my life doing what I want. And at 32, I was, who knew, you know? So like, and this person was like, oh crap, you were just starting at 32. And I'm like, yeah, I'll be honest, I'm 48. I feel like I'm still just starting. So yeah, I think if you struggle with any of that, guys, the best person to listen to is Gary Vaynerchuk. I love Gary forever because he is constantly talking about, don't compare, you know, 24-year-olds are like, I want to be a billionaire. Come on, man. Like you got to give yourself some grace and go through these phases. Find the thing that you're really passionate about that you can go all in at, because everybody, you know, they always talk about like the guy that started Amazon and stuff, how he was late in life, and you never know. But if you're comparing yourself to others, you know, and here's one thing I'll say. I look back at those years when I was 31, 32, 29, whatever, and I'm like, I was fucking happy then, man. I was so happy. I had a great group of friends. I didn't have a ton of money in the bank, but you know, I got to enjoy life and do the things that I wanted to do. And so like every phase that I've been in, I've been happy. Right. And so I think that's the thing you got to focus on is like, you don't even realize it. We're getting all philosophical, but you don't even realize it till you look back how happy you were, because you're chasing. And then you realize what was actually fun was the chase. And then when you get it, you go, man, that was really fun. Now what?
It's funny. I was training this morning with a friend, and I won't say any names or anything, but I told him, I was like, I remember last year, um, he was out on the West Coast, and he had posted a story about how he had rented his dream car, which was like a G-Wagon. He was driving in a G-Wagon. And the other day he went out and he bought not that G-Wagon, but literally like the most top of the line G-Wagon you could possibly ever imagine. And today we were talking. I was like, "Do you remember a year ago when you posted that? And now look where you are just a year from now, or from that point." And he just started laughing. He's like, "I'd completely even forgotten about that. Completely even forgot about that."
Yeah.
So you will always be in a different, I'm in a way different place now than I was a year ago, and way different place a year ago than I was a year before that. And it's not necessarily good or bad. It's just where you are. Right. And it's about trying to work towards something and embracing that, because look, we get one chance at all this stuff, right? So you might as well enjoy it.
That's it.
Yeah. Amen to that. Well, I liked this episode a lot. I hope that those that listen, you know, pick up on a little bit of tidbits. We did get a little bit more like deep in this one, but I think it's all relevant. I think all this, you know, I think a lot of people probably need to hear this.
Yeah.
We're all at some place in our life and we're all going somewhere. Make sure to enjoy like where you're at currently on your way to the next thing. And if bad shit happens, I mean, gosh, I've been through so many things with my close friends. You know, I always think about Lane. He really struggled for a while there. And now when I see Lane, he's the happiest he has ever been. And you almost go, would he be this happy if he hadn't gone through that crap? And that's the thing I focus on. Like, you know, you can't see forward. You can only connect the dots backwards. And so now when I see Lane, it's just a great reminder of like, man, he's put even on his toughest days, he just kept going forward. And you can't beat somebody that's like that. You just can't. Life can't beat them. People can't beat them, because they're just going to keep betting on themselves and winning.
Yeah. I mean, everything, I know this is such a cliche quote, but everything really does happen for a reason. But a lot of times you don't know that reason in the moment. It takes sometimes years and years to like really look back and think, wow, okay, I'm really grateful that that happened because it's brought me to where I'm at now, or it's made me appreciate where I'm at now a lot more. But yeah, everything always happens for a greater purpose.
That's
Cool.
All right. Well, let's end it there, guys. A great topic. I don't know that we're going to be able to record next week. I will be in Las Vegas. It's actually the day of the Amateur Olympia.
Mhm.
So maybe we'll record one this week, guys, before we leave. So we have something.
Yeah,
We could
we'll
do
figure
that.
it out. We got it.
Maybe
Either that.
maybe like Friday, we could do a topic.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Yeah, something like that. Or if we need to bring on somebody else, we can. So yeah, we'll get
Ooh,
something
you
for
know
you
what?
guys.
I just talked about Lane. Maybe I should invite him on.
Maybe you should.
Be
Yeah.
good.
We'll get him on sometime in the future because I think he'd be a good one to get on.
Yeah, perfect. All right, guys. Well, thank you guys for listening to the Pro Physique Code. Remember to like and comment. We're chasing 1.5 million downloads now.
Yeah.
So we'll celebrate that very soon.
Yes, we will. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.